everybody, to another week of Macabre. I'm here with your host, Jellybean Jacob.
Hey, Jellybean.
And we're going to tell you a little bit of a story today.
Yeah, that's me, Jellybean Jake, and that's my co-host, the Crimson Czar, Carl.
Woo!
I did Czar because it's relevant to this story.
And Czar starts with a C.
Yeah, it's a C
Like
word,
me.
people. So it's alliterative, it counts. So we've got a fun episode today. I'm excited to share with you guys because I think this is one of the most just enigmatic, interesting characters in history. If you know anything about the Romanov Empire and the Russian Revolution, then I'm certain that you've heard of Grigori Rasputin.
Anastasia was my absolute favorite growing up. I didn't know it wasn't Disney until I was older, but
Yeah, well, he's in that.
he is in that.
And he's just a very mystical, like, there's so much energy around this guy. Like, was he lovers with the lady in charge of Russia?
The Empress?
I'm actually not 100% sure. but yeah. So, if you guys don't know, just a touch, he was very tight with the Romanov family. Like, he was a preacher who, like, the Lady Romanov said that he was the only one that could help their son. Their son had, like, a rare blood thing. And, just kind of, there are some people that think that he's kind of like more like a humanist, just like a scam artist, like he was able to trick her to get up into the, upper echelons of society.
The con artist?
Yeah, con artist. There's some people that think maybe the stuff that he was saying was true, because apparently it was effective. And apparently there used to be lines around the block for his private therapy sessions with, like, all the wives of the town.
I know what kind of man this is already.
Yeah. Because if you know anything else about Rasputin, he supposedly has a huge dong.
I thought you were going to say beard.
Nope. The beard is just a cover. That's to compensate for how big his dong is.
On Anastasia, his beard goes all the way to the ground.
That's to
so
cover
it would
his
cover
dong.
it.
Yeah. But apparently he was a real hit amongst the ladies, amongst the aristocracy.
This is like one of those massage parlors. He's like, yes, send your wives to me for therapy.
What I gotta do is gross. Anyways, so aristocrats had plotted to kill the Siberian peasant who wielded undue influence over Nicholas II and his wife Alexandra. But the conspiracy backfired, hastening the coming Russian Revolution. Yeah. So I wanted to start this off with a quote from one of my favorite books, The Brothers Karamazov, by Fyodor Dostoevsky.
Do you own that?
Mm-hmm.
I want to borrow it.
It's thick, but it's been said that everything...
Like 5 inches thick?
Not like Rasputin thick. No,
I was trying to gauge how many pages it might have based on the thickness of the book, but okay.
I don't know, maybe 4.
Wow.
It's girthy.
Probably like 1,200 pages.
Yeah. Everything in Russia is pretty girthy, apparently.
Jesus.
Okay, so here's the quote. The holy man is he who takes your soul and will makes them his. When you choose your holy man, you surrender your will. You give it to him in utter submission, in full renunciation. And so I picked that quote because that's when they picked Rasputin as their holy man, they were siding with him. You know what I mean? Like, so in a way, he was kind of in charge.
Mm-hmm.
The murder of Grigori Rasputin, Russia's infamous mad monk, is the fodder for a great historical tale that blends fact and legend. But the death of the controversial holy man and faith healer had a combustible effect on the tense state of affairs in the last days of Imperial Russia. A group of Russian nobles conspired to kill Rasputin on December 30th, 1916, in the basement of Moika Palace, in the St. Petersburg residence of Prince Felix Yusupov, one of the richest men in Russia, and husband of Nicholas II's only biological niece, Irina. Rasputin's battered body was discovered in the Neva River a few days later. But how did he get there? This peasant from Siberia. Well, I'll tell you.
How did he get
to where he was hanging out with the czars of Russia?
Yeah.
So, in the decade prior, Rasputin had risen rapidly through Russian society. He transformed himself, really, from like this obscure Siberian peasant.
The president of Russia.
Yeah. Into one of the most prominent figures in the Tsar's inner circle. He was born in 1869 in the village of Pokrovskoye. Don't even know. I know it's wrong. On the Tura River that flows eastward from the Ural Mountains, where Europe meets Asia in Siberia. Which that whole area, like Eastern Russia, Siberia, Asia, that is such a mysterious, mystical kind of place anyways, because of the practices of like these Eastern European denominations and going into Asian stuff. You know, that's just such a strange part of the world, you know?
I don't know much about it. Sounds cool.
It's not. No, I'm sure it's fine. Rasputin, though, seemed destined for an ordinary life, despite a few conflicts in his youth with local authorities for unruly behavior. At age 18, he married a local woman, Praskovia Dubrovina. The couple had 7 children, but only 3 survived to adulthood: Maria, Dmitri, and Varvara.
Dmitri.
What?
That's the name of the guy on Anastasia.
Oh.
So there's like actual... I didn't know how much truth was in that movie.
It could be that, or it could be that Dimitri's just a
Super
popular
common
name. Yeah. Who knows? But anyways, Rasputin's life changed in 1892 when he left his family's farm to spend months at a monastery. So hang on a sec. He got married. So 1869. Help me out with this because I'm bad with this kind of math. 1869. What year would it have been when he was 18? 69. So let's just make it 70. 88, 98. So like 1897 is when he got married. Wait, that doesn't make sense. Well, because it says in 1892 he left his family's farm to spend months at a monastery. So 69 to 92. Wait a minute. I was doing 30 years. So it makes sense. It was a couple years after he got married. He went to a monastery.
Okay.
Which this is what kind of would be the watershed moment of his life.
Mm-hmm.
Not many people would think that going to a monastery would grant them immeasurable fame and notoriety, but he's the one. Despite his later nickname, the Mad Monk, Rasputin was not ordained. Did you know that? He was not actually a priest, preacher, reverend, whatever.
It doesn't sound like the work he did in Russia was some work of an ordained monk.
I agree.
Sounds like a fraud.
Yeah, it sounds like a guy who found a way to manipulate the world into giving him what he wanted. And
sounds like my kids.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
They've gotten really good at that.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, he was just a wandering holy man in search of spiritual enlightenment, supposedly. Such individuals usually gave up their past lives and relationships, but Rasputin continued to see his family. His daughters, in fact, actually later lived with him in St. Petersburg and supported his wife financially. Yeah, I guess he never got divorced. He just left his wife paying some bills.
A
Life
fraud
was
is a
different back
fraud is a
then.
fraud.
Yeah. Rasputin's religious fervor, though, combined with his appealing personal charisma, huge dong, no, brought him to the attention of the Russian Orthodox clergy and senior members of the imperial family, who introduced the holy man to Nicholas and his wife Alexandra Romanov, the Tsars of Russia. At, yeah. As the Tsar wrote to one of his ministers in October 1906, a few days ago I received a peasant from the Tobolsk district, Grigori Rasputin, who brought me an icon of Saint Simeon of Verkhoturye. He made a remarkably strong impression on both Her Majesty and on myself, so that instead of 5 minutes, our conversation went on for more than an hour. Wow.
Wow.
So they really must have just started slapping gums and talking. No, that sounds like they're
I
kissing.
didn't know where you were going with that, so I was just going to let you go because I was going to be like, wow, charisma. And you were like,
It's like he got all of his skill points put into charisma and dong when his character was made. Uh, the couple, Alexandra and Nicholas, um, they had a history of consulting unconventional spiritual advisors in the past, but Rasputin had surpassed all of their expectations with his ability to discern their inner hopes and tell them what they wanted to hear. He encouraged Nicholas to have more confidence in his role as Tsar, and Alexandra found that his counsel soothed her anxieties, which I know is like early 20th century term for like addressed female sexuality.
yeah. They used to have a lot of names for like normal things for women.
Yeah,
They'd be like, oh, her anxieties,
her womanly anxieties, when really all it is
like feminine, like need. Yeah.
yeah,
I gotta say,
remembering
I
that
just looked this dude up and he's haunting.
Grigori.
Yes.
Yeah, apparently he used to get it in
Oh, he's
the
scary.
Siberian.
He's really scary looking.
Hey, yes. Uh, yeah. So, anyways, by World War One, this is when it starts really kicking. 1914. All right. Rasputin was providing political advice and making recommendations for ministerial appointments, much to the dismay of the Russian elite. So, as you can imagine, there's really just some vagrant guy who the emperor and empress just
Mm-hmm.
happened to like, and he's kind of hanging around and like making choices for people, but he's not from good blood. He's not from like some old money family. Like, who is this
Mm-hmm.
guy, you know?
Yeah, I'd be kind of
Rasputin.
pissed too. Like if I was like royal, I'd be like,
I
who
was
is
born
this
into this,
scum?
bro.
He didn't pledge monkism. Why is he even speaking?
Yeah, you never joined the Illuminati fraternity out in the woods where we all wear goat heads and get naked.
I thought that was a different people.
They're all the same.
He's like Littlefinger on Game of Thrones.
Yeah. Yeah, he is. Chaos is a ladder. So Rasputin cemented his relationship with the Tsar and Tsarina. Oh, that's what it's called.
That's what it's called.
Yeah. By supposedly alleviating the suffering of their only son and heir, Alexei, who had hemophilia, a rare disorder in which the blood doesn't properly clot. The holy man's alleged healing powers continue to be debated today. That's the thing about it, was like, did he have some way of helping the son's hemophilia? Because
I,
it's one of those things it's history, so it's not like we're not sure, but also it's like
I feel
he
like
did.
some people get really lucky
Yeah,
when they're like frauds, like when they're like playing a part for people, like you're talking about, like he doesn't know what he's doing.
Hmm.
We know he doesn't know what he's doing.
But like the
But like,
timing was so perfect. It
yeah,
just
he might
happened to
have
be
just
like when the
accidentally done something that might have worked.
because apparently Alexei was out in his sickness for a long time, and Rasputin comes up and uh, well, actually, I'll just tell you the Tsar's sister, Grand Duchess Olga, later reported that Rasputin healed Alexei by kneeling at the foot of his bed and praying. The calming atmosphere that Rasputin created in the palace may have assisted in the boy's recovery. But yeah, supposedly he was able to just like go pray, lay hands on the boy, and he like started to get better. But it could be like he also made it to where the whole home was more comfortable for the boy. Like it could be like a
Yeah.
million things, you know.
Yeah, I mean, being in a calming environment when you're sick will make you feel better than being in like a really high anxiety, high stress environment. So if he's calming everyone in there, they're like, "Oh, we feel good." It's kind of like tricking your brain into thinking it worked. It's like a placebo.
And it helps you heal because
Yeah.
your brain can relax.
Mhm.
Yeah, but that's what the debate is.
Hmm.
Odds are he's not the world's only for real healer.
Right.
But anyways, uh, one of Alexandra's ladies in waiting, Baroness Sophie, and I'm sorry guys, Buxhoveden, Buxhoveden, very nice.
You kind of
It's
went Canadian with that
mm,
when you said that.
true. I was thinking that I went a little Borat, but
Oh yeah, both.
at the end it was definitely Borat.
Yeah.
But anyways, uh, so Alexandra's lady in waiting, one of her little girlfriends that they go and gab, and she thought that Rasputin employed pleasant peasant folk medicine used in Siberian villages to treat internal bleeding in horses, which could be a common thing.
Sure.
Siberia to me just seems like north of the wall, you know,
Yeah. They're the wildlings,
just a
and
horrible
I just
place.
picture their horses being like Clydesdales, and they're like they have sleds drawn
Like
by
their
Siberian
meat is
tigers.
already jerky.
What?
Like if you cut them, they wouldn't bleed. Their meat's already like jerky. They're so hard and dry.
Yeah.
Yeah, and they've got big intimidating like sleighs. They're
Yeah.
like all the horses from Elf from Central Park.
Those are Clydesdales.
Are they?
Yeah.
Well, I know they're mean.
Clydesdales are mean.
I don't know. I know the ones from Elf are. That's why
Yeah.
I don't think that they are Clydesdales. I think they're just big black horses.
Oh, I thought they literally said they were Clydesdales.
I don't know. But anyways, in his 2016 book, Rasputin, Faith, Power, and the Twilight of the Romanovs, historian Douglas Smith wrote, Rasputin's assurances calmed the anxious, fretful mother and filled her with unshakable confidence, and she, in turn, transferred this confidence to her ailing son, literally willing him back to health. In addition to increasing Alexandra's confidence in her son's recovery, Rasputin insisted that the Tsarina not allow the doctors to bother Alexei too much. So that's always suspicious, I think, whenever some spirit healer's like, hey, don't let the doctors around too much. I'm doing something.
Yeah, because his con would be up.
Yeah,
Because they'd be like, he's not getting better. He's in a better mood. The boy is still sick.
Well, at the time, medical knowledge was limited, and even though things like aspirin were available, uh, aspirin then was considered like a cure-all remedy, all right? And it had the unknown side effect of thinning the blood. So this is a huge thing here, that would have exacerbated the hemophilia problems. So literally by Rasputin stopping him taking aspirin
That
cured his hemophilia in a way,
Yeah.
or improved it. And it seemed miraculous, but really he was just
No.
saying, stop taking the blood thinner and your blood will stop being so thin.
Yeah.
So, there's that. There's debate.
Mm-hmm.
I know I kind of believe that just getting him to stop taking the blood thinner.
Yeah.
That's what I tend to lean.
I've just heard so much stuff about aspirin. I just don't take it. Ever. I don't even think I own any.
Well, you know Jack Torrance from The Shining?
Mm-hmm.
In the book, it was a common core thing that he would get a little irritated and he would pop an aspirin into his mouth and chew on it.
Yikes.
And that kind of helped him fight off like his alcoholic tendencies. Was like the bitterness of it would kind of like reset his mind.
Mm-hmm.
So
that's crazy.
And he ended up going nuts.
Mm-hmm.
So don't take aspirin, folks.
I know there's a medical reason some people are supposed to take aspirin.
No, I think
it's
it's
not
actually
like young, healthy
the blood
people with
thinning
a
thing
slight
is
headache.
good for a lot of people.
Huh?
The blood thinning aspect is good for a lot of people. A lot of people take it to keep their blood flowing nicely. A lot of people got too blood thick. Too thick blood.
Two Blood Thick would be a cool rapper name.
Yeah, no, I kind of like that actually. I was like, too blood thick. That's cool. So, anyways, let's get around the life of the man, because that's why we got beers and stuff named after him now. Because he's kind of this anti-figure, you know.
Mm-hmm.
So he presented himself to the imperial court as a holy man, despite no formal affiliation with the Russian Orthodox Church. Kind of like Bertha Gifford calling
Mm-hmm.
herself a nurse with zero education.
She was like, don't worry, I got this.
See, that's what I'm saying. Back in the day, you could just make yourself what you wanted.
Fake it till you make it.
Faked it till you made it. Like, be like, no. It's like that movie Catch Me If You Can about the forger.
Yeah.
Back in the day, you really could have gotten away with a lot. I know he was like a genius level forger, but think even back to like the early 1900s or like 1800s.
Mm-hmm.
You could just kind of forge your way in. Like the Dave Chappelle joke. It's like, back in the day, you could move 20 miles away and start a new life. You know?
Which is what Bertha Gifford literally did, remember?
Yeah.
She was like, I'm going to move right here. And it wasn't even that far.
And nobody was going to make the trip.
And nobody knew. Yeah.
So anyways, he had never been formally affiliated with the Russian Orthodox Church, which I always thought the Russian Orthodox Church was cool, because something I learned recently was they have, what do they call it? Papal succession.
Mm-hmm.
They've got papal succession.
Mm-hmm.
All the way back to Christ.
Yeah.
St. Peter.
Mm-hmm.
So, the Russian Orthodox and the Roman Catholic Church, they're both kind of on two sides of a coin that think that they have the proper line all the way back to Christ.
Yeah.
Which is why they're similar but different.
Yeah.
But, like their cross has that little diagonal piece on it.
Mm-hmm.
With that.
What's up with that?
I'm sure it's an easy answer. Don't get all uppity, people. So anyways. He also spoke as a self-appointed representative of the peasantry. I am but a simple man, Your Honor.
I represent you, lesser.
Yeah.
Fools.
I here represent the voiceless. But this behavior away from court offered a different portrait, because Rasputin was known for drunkenness and affairs with women of all social backgrounds. Here's where we get into it.
He said, I don't care where you come from.
I speak for the voiceless. Rasputin, all the way from the lowest of street walkers to the top of society, Rasputin loved all. He scandalized the public. In a way, he appeared to bask in his fame. showing off shirts embroidered for him by the Empress and inviting her friends and servants to his home in Pokrovskoye. Uh, Rasputin's wife appeared completely untroubled by his infidelities, commenting, "He has enough for it all." Talking
I,
about
I, I just,
talking about his dong. That's pretty crazy that his wife would even be like, "Listen, he's got too much dong."
maybe she just like couldn't handle his attention. And I don't mean that in a sexual way. I mean, maybe she was
But
like, this
maybe
dude
that
is
too.
like annoying.
He knocked her up 7 times.
Holy crap.
Remember? 3 of
Yeah.
them made it to adulthood, but like,
Yeah. And why is that? I thought he was supposed to be this miraculous healer. So how did
I'm sure
the
that he would
majority
have
of
just
his
said the
children
Lord
pass?
works in mysterious ways.
Well, the thing about con artists is they have an answer for everything.
Yeah, exactly. And he apparently was a really good one. So the press, unshackled thanks to rights granted by Tsar Nicholas in 1905, spread lurid tales about Rasputin both within Russia and abroad. Rumors about Rasputin's influence over the Tsarist regime spread throughout Europe. Petitioners, incorrectly believing that Rasputin lived with the imperial family, mailed their requests to him at the Tsar's palace in St. Petersburg.
That's crazy to get fan mail at the Tsar's palace.
It's like, no, I don't live there. I just hang.
Yeah, I just go there on weekends
I
when
wouldn't
I
be caught
feel
dead
like
living
it.
there. So soldiers on World War I's Eastern Front, like the Russian part of it, spoke of Rasputin having an intimate affair with Alexandra, passing the story off as common knowledge without evidence. Just kind of one of those things. Well, Rasputin's boning the Tsarina. Kind of.
Mm-hmm.
As the war progressed, outlandish accounts of Rasputin's exploits expanded to include his supposed treason with the German army, including a fantastical tale that he sought to undermine the war effort by starting a cholera epidemic in St. Petersburg with poisoned apples imported from Canada. Do you want me to read that again? So you can. That's a crazy sentence.
Yeah.
As the war progressed, outlandish accounts of Rasputin's exploits expanded to include his supposed treason with the German enemy, including a fantastical tale that he sought to undermine the war effort by starting a cholera epidemic in St. Petersburg with poisoned apples imported from Canada.
So the thing with that is cholera is where you have. I thought you got cholera from contaminated water.
Apples, apparently.
I know, but I'm
Canadian
saying, like, what
apples.
did he do?
I don't know.
Like, wash the apples in cholera?
Well, that's like that's the whole point, is that all these
It's so
rumors are
stupid.
crazy.
That's why I laughed, because that's really dumb. Well, I mean, it's not impossible, I guess.
Yeah,
The evil witch did it on Snow White.
it's true. But what the Russian people thought they knew about Rasputin had a greater influence on his reputation than his actual views or actions. It's like the story around him was bigger than what he was actually doing.
It's like celebrities now.
Yeah.
Like, it's like we don't care who you are as a person or your values or your beliefs. Nothing. We just care about the story.
Yeah, like we're just creating characters. And but all that to say, Russia wanted him out. All the elites were like,
Even the
"You're
Tsar
outta here."
or the Tsar still backed him, but everyone else was like,
Yeah, the
no.
Tsar and the Tsarina were like, "No, you're cool, dude." But anyways, Rasputin's political sway increased during the war when Nicholas left the capital to take command of the Russian army. Uh-oh. While the cat's away, the mice will play.
He probably conned the Tsar into thinking it was important for him to sleep with his wife.
Probably. You want a healer? Here's how you do it. So in her husband's absence, Alexander assumed nominal control of the empire, relying heavily on Rasputin as an advisor. The German-born empress was deeply unpopular, but Nicholas, described by historian Robert K. Massey as a decent man but a bad czar, stood by his wife, supporting her political decisions and rejecting calls for an alternative interim government. So even though her actions weren't like celebrated as a
Mm-hmm.
politician, Nicholas was like, I'm gonna back my woman. I'm gonna trust her.
Good guy.
She would never cheat on me.
They're right. Sounds like a good guy, but a bad czar.
Yeah. When you got
You
whole
should
hog
care.
Rasputin,
Yeah, you should care a little more.
his own wife is like, he needs to share that. Massive, massive thing. Anyways, conspiracy. Here's where I like it.
Conspiracy.
Before he murdered Rasputin, Yusupov, a wealthy aristocrat who married into the Romanov family, lived a comparatively aimless life of privilege. Nicholas's eldest daughter, also named Duchess Olga, worked
Dolce.
delicious uh,
Dolce.
Dolce Deleche, worked as a nurse during World War I and criticized Yusupov's refusal to enlist, writing to her father, Felix is a downright citizen, dressed in all brown and virtually doing nothing. An utterly unpleasant impression he makes. A man idling in such times. Wow, so she thought he was a loser.
Dang. That's her
Bum.
brother, right?
No, that
Or
was
that's his wife.
some cousin.
Oh,
Oh,
cousin.
it was a dude that married into the Romanov family.
I misheard that completely.
Yeah, he was an aristocrat that married into the family.
I
Was
mean,
kind of a loser until eventually he's going to be the guy that kills Rasputin, apparently. Or
silver
conspires.
spoon.
Yeah. Uh, so
Nepo
yeah.
baby.
Plotting Rasputin's murder, however, would give Yusupov an opportunity to reinvent himself as a patriot and a man of action, determined to protect the throne from a malignant influence. So he's reminding me of like the aristocrat who was maybe awesome in his 20s, but now he's like in his early 30s. And he's like, okay, I got to grow up and actually do something now.
Yeah, like a Nepo baby.
Yeah,
Like, can't keep riding the coattails. I guess I have to do something.
yeah. So Yusupov and his fellow co-conspirators, I guess you don't need to say fellow co-conspirators. Anyways,
Yeah, they're just co-conspirators.
most of them were fellow aristocrats.
There you go.
They believed that Rasputin's removal would give Nicholas one last chance at restoring the reputation and prestige of the monarchy. With Rasputin gone, they hoped, the Tsar would return from military headquarters and once again govern from St. Petersburg, taking the advice of his extended family, the nobility, and the Duma, which is the Russian legislative body, instead of listening to Alexandra. So that, you know, like, what did you think of that?
I thought you were gonna say something else. So
Oh.
they want. They were hoping the czar would come back without,
uh, yeah, they were hoping that Nicholas would come back and kind of
and it
correct
all would
all
be
of the,
good.
yeah, because once Rasputin was just a little poison bug in her ear, you know.
Yeah, and that reminds me of something on Game of Thrones.
Oh,
uh,
that reminds me of something. Dot dot dot.
dot 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 on Game of Thrones.
Yeah.
Um, I'll have to come back to the person's name, but it's basically the same thing where it's like a little spider rat in her ear.
Talking about the eunuch dude, the master of whispers. called him the Spider.
Yeah.
Sir, or Lord,
Bears.
Lord Bear, something
Bears.
like that.
I don't know.
Anyways,
Anyway, I'll think
that
of
guy,
it.
he's the Whisperer.
But that's
We
what I
get-
was thinking of. Is just like he's the Grand Meister. No, he's not. He's not the Grand Meister
No,
either.
he's just always
He's just
there.
a eunuch.
Yeah. Yeah,
And
he
he's just
doesn't
like
have to-
whispering in
He's the opposite of
Cersei's ear.
Rasputin, really.
Un-Rasputin.
Because he's not hung at all. Anyways,
It's like a mannequin.
yeah. The best known account of Rasputin's murder appears in Yusupov's memoirs, which were published in 1928. The prince claimed to have invited Rasputin to his palace to meet his wife, Irina, who was in fact away at the time, then served him a platter of cakes and numerous glasses of wine laced with toxic potassium cyanide.
Wow.
To Yusupov's astonishment, Rasputin appeared to be unaffected by the poison. He's just a party animal.
What's it called whenever you can slowly train yourself
Like build tolerance.
to
Immunity.
poison? Yeah.
Yeah. Maybe he did that.
I forget what it's called.
So yeah, the desperate prince borrowed a revolver from Grand Duke Dmitri, the Tsar's cousin, and shot Rasputin multiple times, but was still unable to kill him. As Yusupov later wrote, the devil who was dying of poison, who had a bullet in his heart, must have been raised from the dead by the powers of evil. There was something appalling and monstrous in his diabolical refusal to die.
I just am like picturing this dude pumped full of cyanide and a shot in the heart, and he's like,
Rasputin.
"What else you
He
got?"
keeps all his blood in his dong to protect it from getting poisoned.
Well, and I hate to bring it back to this, but in Anastasia, he's like made a deal with the souls of like
Yeah.
the underworld. That's probably why he was painted in that light.
I agree. Yeah, because there's just so much like that around his life.
Yeah.
Rumors circulated in the immediate aftermath of Rasputin's death. They suggested that water was found in his lungs, indicating that he ultimately died by drowning.
I was just gonna ask, so what really did him in?
I guess they just threw all the smoke
Maybe
at
they
him.
waterboarded him.
Could be. So Yusupov's account of Rasputin's murder quickly entered popular culture. The lurid scene was dramatized in numerous films about Rasputin and the Romanovs, and even made it into the 1970s disco hit by Boney M, which includes the lines, "They put some poison into his wine, he drank it all and said, I feel fine."
Rah, rah, Rasputin.
You can see why people think he's like kind of like this cool rock star in some weird way.
Mm-hmm. Was the Tsar and his wife upset that he killed him?
Well,
Okay.
Rasputin's actual murder was probably far less dramatic. His daughter, Maria, who fled Russia after the revolution and became a circus lion tamer,
Whoa.
billed as the daughter of the famous mad monk whose feats in Russia astonished the world, wrote a 1929 book that condemned Yusupov's actions and questioned the veracity of his account. Maria wrote that her father did not like sweets and never would have eaten a platter of cakes.
Ooh.
In fact, the autopsy reports do not mention poison or drowning, instead concluding that Rasputin was shot in the head at close range.
Whoa.
Yusupov then...
She's saying that's what she saw in the autopsy?
Yeah, she's saying the autopsy reports say he was just shot in the head.
So execution style.
Yeah. So Yusupov then transformed the murder into an epic struggle of good versus evil to sell books and bolster his own reputation.
What a freaking weasel.
A little turd.
What a little turd.
Just a little turd.
I'm not on Rasputin's side. He kind of gives me the ick. But,
Yeah.
I mean, it sounds like
But I'm
this
also
dude
not
was
on
just
Yusupov's
jealous.
side either.
Huh?
Yusupov?
Yeah. I mean, he sounds like a jealous little whiny baby.
Yeah, and
Like,
was like,
he was
I need
jealous
to do
of-
something for this family, otherwise they're gonna
This guy was-
exercise me.
This guy was low born, and he gets to hang out with the Tsar. The Tsar doesn't even hang out with me.
Yeah, I want to be
Daddy,
Nicholas's friend.
the Tsar doesn't hang out with me.
Daddy,
Daddy.
Daddy, Mama's dad.
My mama's dad.
So, all this is going on. It's a public whirlwind. The public reactions were mixed, reflecting Rasputin's checkered reputation. The elite, from whence Yusupov and his co-conspirators came, rejoiced and applauded the killers as they appeared in public. However, Nicholas banished Yusupov and Dmitri from court for their involvement in the plot, inadvertently saving the pair from the coming revolution.
Oh, okay.
Accidentally. So it seems like Yusupov's going to live a long and lucky life. No. The peasantry mourned Rasputin as one of their own, seeing the murder as one more example of the nobility controlling Nicholas. When a peasant rose to a position of influence with the Tsar, he was murdered by the wealthy men. That's a sentiment I can actually kind of get behind.
Yeah.
You know, like, what the heck? Just because he wasn't a noble or whatever?
Yeah.
Anyways.
Well, and like, even if he wasn't a noble, he was still an advisor for the crown, or whatever you would call it.
Nowadays, Rasputin could be like president of the United States.
I wouldn't go that far.
But to the dismay of the conspirators, Rasputin's murder did not lead to a radical change in Nicholas and Alexandra's approach to governing. Confronted with events that moved too quickly for him, according to Massey, the Tsar abdicated in March of 1917, bringing 300 years of Romanov rule to end and leading to his family's brutal deaths at the hands of the Bolsheviks in July of 1918.
Yeah, he wasn't a good Tsar.
But it seemed like he was a nice guy.
Well, you can't be a nice guy and rule a country like Russia.
Yeah. So, to these emergent revolutionaries, Rasputin symbolized the corruption at the heart of the imperial court, and his murder was seen rather accurately as an attempt by the nobility to hold on to power at the continued expense of the proletariat. To the working class, Rasputin represented the broader problems with Tsarism. In the aftermath of the Russian Revolution, provisional government leader Alexander Kerensky went so far as to say, without Rasputin, there would have been no Lenin.
Huh.
Isn't that neat?
Yeah.
So that's crazy. The guy. That's Grigori Rasputin. Pretty cool, huh? Oops.
Yeah.
So
he's and his wife just, I wonder if she was sad about his passing.
I'm sure she was.
I feel like they didn't live together.
But they didn't live that long. The entire Romanov family was gunned down in their home, so they're all massacred by the Bolsheviks.
I can't help but think it's because of some of the things that they did because of Rasputin's pull.
Yeah. Yeah. So lots of just occult, dark, mystical smoke around this guy. Which makes him extremely intriguing to look into. Because he did have such sway over one of the biggest nations in the world.
That is top level con man.
Started at the bottom, now we're here.
And I thought Charles Schmidt was a con man.
Yeah.
Pretending to be Elvis. But here we've got a guy who pretended to be a healer of importance, and he hung out with the Tsar.
Yeah.
Next level.
Yeah, so check it out, folks. Our Instagram, Patreon.
Yep.
YouTube's.
Next week is going to be one of my episodes, and we are going to talk about the real life Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde case, and it's going to come from you.
It's coming to you live.
It's going to come to you for Kansas City, which is my next state on my stop around the world of true crime.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde's one of my favorite books.
Yep. This is the real life story of the real doctor that like kind of spurred on a bunch of those. He was crazy. Yep, and he lived in Kansas.
Well, I can't wait to hear more about it.
Yep. Thank you guys for listening.
Thank you, Maccabees.
And have a macabre Monday.